Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel where I teach you how to be a math genius. If you typically struggle in math or you're looking to improve your understanding of math, this is the channel for you. Also, I will try my best to make these videos user-friendly for teachers, co-teachers, or homeschoolers to utilize as well. If you fall into any of these categories, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified anytime I upload a new video. Now let's jump in. Today we're going to learn about distribution. In my previous video, we learned how to simplify expressions using exponential rules. Now we're going to learn how to simplify expressions by distributing terms. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to distribute terms into an expression with multiplication. I encourage you to pause the video and write your solutions to the problems down, and then continue to watch the video to check your answers. Also, comment any questions you have below. All right, let's begin. So distribution is just a form of multiplying, just like using exponents is a form of multiplying. It's used to multiply expressions, and when multiplying terms, you use the product rule. Before we begin, let's talk about what it looks like to distribute. So when we distribute, we multiply the term outside of parentheses by each term inside of parentheses. All right, now let's look at some examples. So we have 7 times x, 7 times 4, and 7 times x plus 4. Let's start with 7 times x. So if we do 7 times x, it just becomes the term 7x. The coefficient sits in the front, and there are no exponents to simplify. If we have 7 times 4 and put that in our calculator, we'll get 28. So this is basically distribution. It's when we distribute the term outside of parentheses, in this first case, which is 7, to the term inside. And when we say distribute, we mean to multiply, okay? We do the same thing in the second example. We distribute the term outside of parentheses, which in this case is 7, to the term inside parentheses, which is 4. And what do we mean by distribute? Multiply. So now let's look at this third example at the bottom. We have 7 times x plus 4. So remember we said distribute means multiply. Well, why would we need two different words for multiplying if they mean the same thing? Well, this is how multiplying and distributing are a little different. So distributing is not only referring to multiplication, but distributing the multiplication throughout each term within the parentheses. So when you have something like 7 times x plus 4, not only do you need to multiply 7 times x, but you also need to multiply by 4. Okay? And so that's when we multiplied the terms outside by everything inside. 7 is outside, and x and 4 is inside. So we need to multiply 7 times x and 7 times 4. So we know that 7 times x is 7x. And we know that 7 times 4 is 28. So this would be our simplified expression. Why? Because this comes out to distribute to each term in parentheses. Once we simplify these, we get our final answer. Let's try a few more examples. So we have 5y to the second power times negative 6, 5y to the second power times 4y to the third power, and then we also have 5y to the second power times 4y to the third power minus 6. So these examples are a little different because the term on the outside of parentheses is not just a number. It's a number along with a variable. It has its coefficient, the variable, and the exponent. If you don't know what coefficients, variables, or exponents are, make sure you go back and watch my previous video on basic vocabulary, lesson 1. So let's get to this first example. I had mentioned earlier that when we distribute terms, we multiply them. And when we multiply them, we're using the product rule. Well, let's review what the product rule is. So the product rule tells us that anytime we're multiplying two terms, such as x to the a power times x to the b power, we need to add the exponents. So we have to add exponents, but if we have coefficients, we need to multiply them. So we're going to add exponents and multiply coefficients. Okay? All right, let's jump into this first example. So coefficients, or in other words, just the big numbers. So the big numbers we have in this first example are 5 and -6. 5 times -6 gives us -30. So we know in the front of this answer it's going to be a -30. There's a y squared, but on the inside there's no other y's. So our answer is going to have y squared in it, and it's going to be -30 y to the second power. Now let's look at this second example. So we have two coefficients here, 5 and 4. 5 times 4 is equal to 20. Then we need to add the exponents. So y to the second plus third power, which is y to the fifth power. And if we put it all together, we get 20y to the fifth power. Now let's look at this last one. So if we distribute the terms, we need to make sure that we multiply everything on the outside by everything on the inside. So 5y squared needs to multiply this first term, and it needs to multiply the second term. Okay? So if we multiply 5y times 4y to the 5y squared times 4y to the third power, we already figured out that that's going to come out to 20y to the fifth power according to this solution. And if we multiply 5y squared times -6, we already determined that that comes out to -30y squared. So we can go ahead and write that in the back of our answer. And altogether we have 20y to the fifth power minus 30y to the second power. Now it's time for you to try your own example. So we have the expression here, -9g times 8g to the third power minus 5g to the second power. So what I want you to do is go ahead and pause the video and simplify the expression by distributing. Make sure you take the term on the outside of parentheses and multiply it by each term on the inside of parentheses by using the product rule. All right, let's see if you got this right. So first things first, we want to identify all of the terms on the outside of parentheses, such as -9g, and then all the ones on the inside, 8g to the third power and -5g to the second power. We know that we need to multiply the outside term by each term on the inside. Okay, so first we have -9g times 8g to the third power. Now, we know there's a 1 sitting up here if we don't see an exponent. And also, we know we need to use the product rule to simplify this expression. So first, we're going to add the exponents, 1 plus 3, which gives us 4. And then we multiply the coefficients, -9, and +8 gives us -72. Now let's multiply the term on the outside by the second term on the inside. So we have -9g times -5g to the second power. Go ahead and put that 1 and add those exponents, 1 and 2, and we get 3, so g to the third power. And then we multiply the coefficients, -9, -5. Two negatives equal a positive when multiplying, so we're going to get +45. And that's our solution there. So if we write the first one we got, we have -72 g to the fourth power. And then the second term is positive, so we're going to put a plus sign, plus 45g to the third power. If you got this correct, good job. Now I would like for you to try one more problem here. So we have this expression w squared times 5w to the fourth power minus 2w to the third power plus 10. Now this is a little different from the other expressions because it does not have two terms on the inside of parentheses. It has 3. So what do we need to do? Simplify the expression by distributing. Go ahead and pause the video and give it a try. All right. Let's look at the solution and see if you got it right. So we know when we simplify by distributing, we need to make sure we multiply every term on the outside by every term on the inside. Okay, so we have w squared, the outside term, times the first term, 5w to the fourth power. If we use the product rule, we can put a 1 in the front here. We'd multiply the coefficients, which are 1 and 5. And then we're going to add the exponents, which are 2 and 4. And we get 5w to the 6th power. Had a little tongue twister there, huh? All right, so then the term on the outside, w squared, multiplies by the second term. So we have negative 2w to the third power. We're going to put our 1 there. We have 1 times negative 2, because those are our coefficients. We get negative 2. And then we add the exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5. Then lastly, we're going to look at multiplying the outside term by 10. And there's no other exponents on the inside, so we're just going to throw that number in the front as a coefficient and put w squared in the back. So altogether, our solution is 5w to the 6th power minus 2w to the 5th power plus 10w to the 2nd power. If you like this explanation on distribution, make sure to hit the like button below and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.